All right, so what's going on, everybody? So I have the S10 Plus and the Note 9, and I was doing a comparison of these two, trying to make it apples to apples comparison. Obviously, they're not the same phones. They're not meant to be the same phones. This phone was released quite a bit after the initial release of the S9 Plus, but the S10 Plus is pretty close comparison, and these just so happen to be the two phones that I personally have. So I was just going to do a quick comparison of it. I did a test with various benchmarks for the overall CPU, GPU benchmarks, battery benchmarks. I tested Fortnite with it, so if anybody's curious, what's the performance difference? Are you going to get better gaming performance? But yeah, right now I'm in my hotel room in the Philippines, just hanging out, having a good time. And yeah, so I decided to throw this video up. Overall, here's the design of the phones. I mean, as you can see, you can read the spec sheet if you really want to know. I'm sure anybody who's really interested is going to do that. But basically, the phones are pretty much the same size. The Note 9 has like it's slightly taller, but it's taller to accommodate the speaker and the camera. Whereas the S10 Plus has the notch, so it just cut that extra bit off. So if you look at the height, you can see a little bit, the Note 9 is just a little bit taller. But as far as thickness goes, I would say probably pretty close to being the same thickness. Maybe the S10 Plus is a little bit thinner. And obviously the S10 Plus doesn't have, the stylus like the Note 9 does. Which, you know what? I actually like the stylus. The stylus is nice to have sometimes, but it's not for everybody. If you don't need it, obviously you're not going to care about that. But I would say the major difference, just right out the gate, is the cameras. The camera quality is much better. You can capture a wider shot, quite a wider shot with the S10 Plus. I'm going to show some video of the front-facing camera, the rear-facing camera, and you're going to be able to see that the video quality with, untinkered with, untweaked camera settings, just kind of stock settings, that the S10 Plus is actually quite a bit better, in my opinion. Another thing is the positioning of the speakers is pretty much the same, but the sound, the volume on the S10 Plus is louder to my ear. I didn't use a decibel meter, but to my ear, this is much louder. I'll go through all the benchmarks. I'll post them up after this video, but basically the S10 Plus is better in almost all categories. Maintains, a really good benchmark, like 30 frames per second in Fortnite, and it on the average that's like 93% of the frames. So it's really good. I think the only other thing that I would say maybe a downside is the in-screen fingerprint sensor. It takes a little bit to get used to. So if you're used to just going on to this little fingerprint sensor here, you can see that it's really easy to find because it's a physical button. Whereas when you're trying to press on your screen, you kind of just have to gauge the right spot. Now, I have a Galaxy Watch, so anytime I have my watch on, it unlocks the phone for me, so I can just fling it open. But if you don't have one and you're just trying to use your fingerprint, you kind of have to push it right in the right spot for it to unlock. And so that might take a little bit to get used to for some people, but I think overall it removes one more button on the back of the phone, so that's kind of nice. But yeah, I mean, it's personal preference. Some people might just like the physical button, but it's the same thing with the tactile feedback of the keyboards, the on-screen keyboards when those were coming out versus like the original, BlackBerry keyboards, for example. A lot of people had trouble getting used to that, but pretty much everybody uses it now. So I think it's kind of a similar thing. Now we'll just go through the video benchmarks. I'll show some close-ups and all that type of stuff. So yeah, let's get to it. Alright everybody, so here are the basic, very basic system specs. If you want a more detailed, in-depth elaboration on all these statistics, I'll leave some links down in the description for some really good websites where you can get deep down into the nitty-gritty. But for the purposes of this video, I wanted to just gloss over most of the important bits and pieces here. Now, we do have the upgraded Qualcomm Snapdragon 855. They're both octa-core CPUs. The frequencies are slightly higher on the 855, although here they're listed as being 2800 megahertz. That's the boost clock. That's not the base frequency. I'll elaborate on the base frequency when I show the CPU results, and you can kind of see that stuff. But I think one of the better improvements for the S10 Plus is just the fact that it's running a newer version of Android. And now the differences between Android 8.1 and Android 9, on the surface, they're not really that significant in my opinion. I look at the phone, the icons are slightly bigger on the S10 Plus versus the Note 9. But for the most part, everything else seems to be the same to me. Now, if you get down into feature sets and other tweaks, improvements, security improvements, and things like that, there's a lot that you can go into. But just from a practical usage standpoint, this isn't going to be a reason why you're going to want to say, if you're on the fence versus which phone you want, this isn't going to be a reason why you want to go with the S10 Plus, just because it has a larger version number that it really is insignificant in my opinion. Now, as for the front-facing cameras, I will put up a couple videos for you right after I'm done with this system spec breakdown, and you guys can see the front-facing camera difference. It's, in my opinion, with video, it's significant. Now, the battery differences, I did do a battery benchmark, and you'll be able to see that in a moment. The battery benchmark is slightly better on the S10 Plus because obviously it has a larger battery. Now, the two things that are the main differences, the main determining factors on which one you might want to go with if you're trying to buy a brand new phone right now. Maybe you want to get the Note 9, you can save a little bit of money since it is technically quote unquote an old phone, not really. Or if you wanted to get the S10 Plus. Obviously the Note 9 doesn't have reverse charging, which I think is really awesome they brought that out. I was on the plane the other day, and I had my phone in one hand my Galaxy Buds. I just got done listening to a Dungeons and Dragons book, Forgotten Realms, Elminster Must Die. And my Galaxy Buds, after listening to that audiobook for probably 2 or 3 hours, started to, lose power. And so I took out my wired headphones, plugged them in, put the headphones in my ear, and then turned on reverse charging, put my Galaxy Buds on the back of my phone, and boom, I had my phone plugged in, was able to charge my Galaxy Buds at the same time. So I think that's pretty awesome. With that being said, I could have took my phone out of the charger. I could have plugged in the Galaxy Buds and not done that, So I think it's just really useful when you're in a pinch. But I mean, I travel with battery backups. I travel pretty prepared. So I would say that to me, that wouldn't be a really big selling feature on which one I would go with. Now, something probably a little bit more important is the stylus. Note 9 has a stylus. Obviously, this is a pretty big deal for people who like to write, and they say you're in a meeting, you want to jot down a quick note, or if you like to take a lot of pictures and you're away from your phone, maybe you have a stand for your phone and you want to take a group photo. Well, with that stylus, you can easily snap a photo. That's one feature that I think is pretty useful. Now, there's other ways to get around that. There's other techniques and things that you can do. Voice-activated picture taking, for example. But the stylus is kind of useful, and some people might like that. Now, with all that said, I think, let's get into the rest of the benchmarks. We have the Geekbench tests. So on the left, this is the Note 9, and then on the right, we have the S10 Plus. So as you can see, the CPU benchmark for this device, we have a clear winner, at least on the averages. But I mean, we can go through all the extra details, so you can kind of peruse that to your heart's content. Base frequencies are different, same number of cores, but the frequencies on those cores are slightly different. So as you can see, the single core performance is much improved on the S10 Plus from almost every single aspect. All the algorithms used, all the various programs such as SQLite, Lua, and things like that are all a big improvement. I mean, we're saying like on one, for example, the HTML5 parser, it's 2,908, and on the S10 Plus, it's 3,541. So that's like 13.2 megabits per second, megabytes per second, excuse me, versus 16.1 megabytes per second. So it's a pretty good amount. You're going to see some differences with that. Now we can go over to multi-core performance, and we can kind of see the same thing again, although on our crypto score, it is slightly lower on the S10 Plus. I think this is because with the new Snapdragon processor, it does have kind of like a step up for one core, but then kind of a step down for two other cores. So it kind of has like a slow speed, like a normal operating speed, and then a medium boost speed, and then a really fast boost speed. Versus the Note 9 just has two clusters, where the S10 Plus has 3 clusters. So it kind of makes the slightly different with its boosting. I think that's why those the numbers reflect that with the crypto score. But everything else except for AES is higher. You can kind of see Canny, I assume Canny edge detection. Lua is better on the S10 Plus, and you can kind of go down the list and see, the same results. So now we can go to render script. And again, this is somewhat of a surprising result to me, but once you start thinking about the cluster design for the new processor, it kind of makes sense that this could be a possibility. So 13,831 versus 7,456. Now that's like double the speed. I only ran this once, so your mileage may vary. The system information. Again, we have an Android 9 versus Android 1. Memory is about the same amount, although the Note 9 does have a little bit more memory. Different base frequency. But if we go down to Sobel and histogram equalization, SFFT, Gaussian blur, face detection, raw depth of field, particle physics, all that type of stuff, there is a clear distinction that the Note 9 does have an advantage here in almost all categories except for the face detection and the Gaussian blur, and that's it. So overall, this was a winner for the Note 9. Now on to the battery. For the battery performance, now this was the quick test, not the complete discharge. I think it discharged to maybe 22. It took away 22% of the battery, so it went down to 88%, I believe. But we do have a clear winner, that being the S10 Plus. Now that could just be because Android 9, I did copy over all the files, so it was a complete sync with all the apps and everything that was running in the background. Now here's the discharge chart. You can see it was discharged to about 88% there. Discharged to actually a little less on the Note 9, 83%. And it has an estimated confidence of medium. Now I wasn't gonna just let that slide. I wanted to get the real numbers and do a complete discharge, and lo and behold, on the Note 9, it was actually pretty accurate. As you can see, 4,647 said medium confidence, so it should have been a strong confidence because that was actually 4,770. And as you can see, discharged all the way to 0. And there you go. So that's the battery score in Geekbench for the Note 9 on the left. And for the S10 Plus on the right, it's 5,020, which is quite a bit different because we have 7,000 on the battery score with medium confidence, but it was much, much less for this one. But it's still slightly higher, which is kind of what you would expect considering it only has an extra 100 milliamp hour bigger battery. Now we can go to our GPU results. Now we for our GPU results, we used Fortnite as our test example, and this is just a quick test, not too strenuous. Ran for just a couple minutes, and averaging about the same for FPS. Memory usage was slightly higher on, now this is going to be kind of confusing, but it's actually the Note 9 on the right and the S10 Plus on the left in this chart. But the memory usage was slightly lower for the S10 Plus. Again, some of that stuff is somewhat subjective considering it could be doing different things in the game in the background. FPS stability was a little bit better on the S10 Plus, but overall pretty similar results. So I think, it's safe to say Fortnite's pretty much designed for these phones, and it looks like the S10 Plus is going to be no problem. Hey guys, so now for this final bit of the testing, I'll show you the results for the front-facing camera on the S10 and the Note 9. So yeah, we'll also go over the rear-facing camera. I'll take some videos in a controlled environment so you can see the differences. Also, one of the things I wanted to mention is pay attention to the microphone sounds as well. For the front-facing camera, it's pretty much the same environment in that I was driving down a freeway, windows are up, same daylight conditions, everything was pretty much the same. Didn't fiddle with any of the settings, so yeah. Let me know what you guys think, and we'll go up on the conclusion and see what everybody thinks. Hey guys, so this is the camera quality on the Note 9. The Note 9, I can't really tell which camera is better. I'll be able to see, you know, in editing, see which ones looks the best. It's pretty much the same time of day, same lighting conditions. So whatever the phone is doing now is all automatic. It's doing it all on its own. I'm not changing any settings or fiddling with anything. And yeah, so I mean, it was literally like 5 minutes ago that I just went and picked up this phone. I'm in the same car, same distance from my face, pretty much, you know, give or take. So yeah, not sure how the microphone's picking up this sound, or you know what the difference will be, but it'll be interesting to see. And yeah, I'll keep you updated on the rest of it. Hey, how's it going, guys? So I'm in my car right now, and let me turn this down. I'm in my car right now, my rental in Oregon, Portland, Oregon, and so basically this is the S10 camera, the front-facing camera, and I just wanted to talk briefly about the audio quality for this the speaker when you're you know, talking on, you know, either speakerphone or messenger or whatever without headphones. One thing that I noticed is the Note 9, it's very hard to hear people unless they're talking directly into their phone mic. And if there's any background noise, like running water, a fan, or anything, it's really hard to hear on the speakerphone. But one of the improvements for the S10 Plus is the speaker is much louder. So it's not, I would say if it was on a scale from 1 to 10, how much louder is it? It's probably, you know, a 4. It's not very, you know, scientific or anything. I didn't test it with a decibel meter or anything like that, but I'll do a little example. I'll set up my camera so you guys can see the sound difference. The Note 9 does have like a noticeably better lows. It sounds more well-rounded. The sound where the the S10 Plus is more kind of high-pitched sounding. But for a speakerphone, I consider that a bonus because honestly, the speakerphone, I mean, I do listen to music on the speakerphone, but it's mainly for talking. I just need it to be loud enough where even if I'm in a mildly loud room, like not like concert or active bar room, I'm talking, you know, just maybe a TV playing in the background and like kids playing in the background or something, and you can't hear the person you're talking to on the speakerphone, at least very well. You can kind of make stuff out, but it's just hard, that's all. So that's a big bonus. And again, I'll do another recording with the front-facing camera on the Note 9, and you guys can compare the quality. All right, take it easy. Pretty much similar conditions. I'll just show you a few different things in front of the camera. Try to get you to see if you can spot any improvements here. It's with autofocus turned on. Yeah, So this is the camera, this is the microphone. I haven't set it up on a stand, on a table. So this is about as good as it gets with autofocus. With the S10 Plus. So let's see if you can spot any difference. It's got it set up on the stand, exact same spot as before. Try to pay attention to the audio quality. Kind of in an echoey room, but this should be autofocus, just default camera, rear facing camera. All right, everybody, so that pretty much concludes the benchmark, the video, the review. I think overall, you know, if you can get a really good discount on the Note 9, it's a good buy. I think the S10 is going to have, you know, it's going to be $1,000 phone for a while, and I mean it's going to be even more if you get the 512 gigabyte model like I got. And the only bonus is probably the Galaxy Buds. You do get the Galaxy Buds. I tried to use the Galaxy Buds with the Note 9. It didn't sound good. It cut out. I don't know if it was just because Android 8, maybe, you know, some other various applications weren't installed and they had to be updated, but they made sure they were going to be out for the S10 Plus, but they haven't, you know, backported it yet, or whatever the case may be. That's something to keep in mind. But overall, I think I'm really happy that I got the S10 Plus. That being said, I still want to see what the new Note 10 is going to be. I want to see what the Galaxy Fold, I think that's what they're calling it, is going to be. That's going to be pretty awesome. But I should have another video coming out pretty soon about Samsung DeX, or, you know, the ability to run Android as like a real computer. I'm going to do that, and also probably in addition to that, I'm also going to do some videos kind of comparing the Note 9 versus the S10 Plus to see, you know, is one better than the other. One of the things that's so irritating to me is having to constantly copy files back and forth and do all these different crazy things, you know. But, you know, that's just the way of things. When you love technology, you're always going to be upgrading devices or whatever the case may be. But yeah, so that'll about wrap up this video. It took me way too long to put this out, so yeah, I hope you guys enjoy. Bye.